Paulo Brandão, and I'm together with my colleague Harold Batista. We are both senior consultants at Cultural Partner. Thank you for the opportunity and the invitation, and we would like to use the time here to talk a little bit about what's a high performance culture and how this applies to Banco Pichincha and its culture, El Amarillo que nos une. So I would like to start with the question and challenge you to think what those three words or expressions have in common. So I'm going to give you like 2 seconds to think. And it's exactly what's in your mind. The word processor, this couple, and the cultural partner are specific instruments for specific applications. So we understand that Banco Pichincha, with all we heard, is facing a cultural problem. And cultural partner is the best, and I would say almost the only company in the world that's fully focused on working with culture and accountability. And that's why we think that Banco Pichincha can get the highest results if we are chosen as your partner. So we have had a number of conversations over the last 2 years, and this is a very brief summary of what we heard during those conversations. So you have developed a strong cultural narrative, and that has been well accepted and understood by your team members. And at the same time, you have a kind of you have the principle, the cultural principles well recognized, but the behaviors that you expect people to show are not yet internalized and are not being coherent, lived by everybody. So because of that, you still have silos. So there are silos between departments, each department working on its own, and this has impacted response time, generate he works, and it's making the communication more difficult. And that's is one of the reasons why there are internal disputes and tensions. So accountability is not where it's supposed to be in all the levels, in several levels. And the behaviors that what we call below the line are predominant. And one of the examples of that is that people depend on the C-level to make day-to-day operational decisions. So in terms of evolution of your culture, the next step is to turn the leaders into culture ambassadors so they can promote viable, visible behaviors, coherent and aligned with your results and your culture. So a culture of high performance is achieved by creating an environment that functions. So instead of the five dysfunctions of a team that you mentioned on your bidding document, to create a culture of high performance, you need to create trust, healthy conflict, improve your commitment, and have more accountability to your results. So this is the next step for the culture uh, El Amarillo que nos une. And that would mean making shifts between what is now lack of attention to results to getting the results. So avoid accountability to uh, own the accountability, so be accountable. Lack of commitment, go to be committed to a high performance. And fear of conflict. It's to be open and candid and be collaborating. So it's an important shift. And lack of trust and be a trustful environment where people are able to expand feedback and experiences in an open and candid way. So in essence, you need to develop clarity, alignment, and accountability in your culture for the results you need to achieve. And I'm going to ask my colleague Harold to conclude the rest of the presentation. So Harold,
Hi, thank you, Paulo, and thank you for your attention, and I appreciate the opportunity for us to talk to you. The first topic I would like to discuss is the importance of clarity. And clarity is based on everyone in the organizations knowing about three things, which we'll see in the next slide. Number one is that everyone has to be aware of the purpose of why they're working at the bank, right? That's number two, it's everyone needs to know what the strategy is. And number three is everybody needs to sign up to a certain type of culture in order to achieve results. And each one of them means something different, right? The purpose is the why everyone is showing up at work. Strategy is the how, and culture is the way we're gonna get to the results. This is critical, and it's very important that everyone has a high degree of clarity around those three topics. In the next slide, you will see one of our clients using what we call the results equations to their advantage. So here you have a slide that shows you at the very top their purpose. In the middle, you show their key results, or actually their strategy. And number three, at the very bottom, you see their culture, which is designated by their cultural beliefs. Okay, so that's just one example of the goals and the first steps that we need to achieve, that your bank needs to achieve so that everyone is really clear about where they need to go.
and one important aspect is that this is measurable. So it's not a culture of intentions, it's a culture that intentionally connects to result. So for your vision, you have an outcome that you can measure for the key results as well. So it's very important so people can see what they what they need to do and what they need to achieve in order to get the results the organization is looking for.
Excellent. Let's go to the next point. So this was about clarity and the importance of you achieving high levels of clarity amongst everyone that works for the bank at this level of clarity. The second big idea is this concept of alignment. And we're talking about alignment at three different levels, which we'll see in the next slide, which is represented by our first model. There are only two models you need to master in order to achieve the cultural shift that you're looking for. At the very top of the results pyramids are the results that you will achieve. Results are achieved through the next layer, which are actions. And the third is the beliefs that people truly hold, the operational beliefs. And obviously, beliefs are highly, highly influenced by the experiences that people are having. So all of this, if we were going to the next slide here, you'll see that this is most organizations, what they tend to do is they tend to focus just on actions. In other words, most organizations lose themselves just on the strategy. Yet that is not enough in order for you to be a high performing culture. You need to also learn to influence the beliefs that people truly hold in the organization. And you also need to be able to create the right experiences for the employees and for the clients so that they hold the right beliefs and so that then they self-select themselves into the right actions. So as you can see, culture is defined by those three layers, which is experience, beliefs, and actions. And what that means is that to you, if you just focus on actions only, on strategy only, it will be very difficult for you to achieve consistently the results you're looking for. So you need to really go for the change of all those three layers. In the next slide, what you will see is that what you're looking for is to go from your current culture, which is represented by R1, which is created by all the actions, all the beliefs and all the experiences that people are having. And the goal is to do a shift, cultural transformational shifts to R2. So what you need to do is you need to shift the entire base over, as you'll see here in this big picture. This is a very powerful picture because it shows you that you truly need to achieve the shift in those three layers: experiences, beliefs, and actions. Okay, so that's the second big idea, which is going to allow us now to go into the third big idea. Just before we move into the third big idea, these are some examples of cultural shifts. So, for instance, a lot of the organizations that we work with is they go from companies not having clearly defined objectives to them being very clear about their objectives. Companies where the employees compete against each other to where they collaborate. Companies where people have too many lists to where lists are simplified. Companies where they're operating in silos to where they're communicating in teams. Companies where they reserved information for themselves versus sharing their successes and failures. And company where the structure of communication is top down versus in all directions, right? So these shifts, we've witnessed them over the last 36 years happening to many, many companies. And so that's what you're trying to achieve as well. And we're very, very, we've been doing this for many, many years. So we have the expertise and the trust gained through many years of working in the market. The next idea is the third level, right? We talked about clarity, we talked about alignment. Let's talk about accountability. Accountability, as you'll see in the next slide, is really based on this model, which is the second model, and the only two models that you need to understand to create cultural transformations, is the above the line and below the line model. So as you'll see on this model, as we move forward on the slide, you'll see that there is what we call below the line behavior when people go for reason and excuses not to achieve results, such as finger pointing, blaming others, waiting and seeing, versus if we go above the line, when people step up and do the necessary things to achieve results. So in a culture of high performance, they see the real issues, they take ownership appropriately. The right people take the right ownership to solve these problems. Then they creatively solve them, and finally, they actually go and do it. So, staying above the line is truly the secret of great organizations. Now, do you need to be above the line all the time? Not really. It's still okay to go below the line. What you do want to avoid, though, is living below the line, meaning that you want to spend as much time above the line as possible so that you can reach your high performing results easier, faster, and better, right? So that's a very important concept. And if we go to the next slide, what you'll see is that this is what's going to allow you to go over those different points that Paulo had mentioned before. This is how you go from a non so high performing culture to a way higher performing culture. So very powerful, very simple, easy for everyone to understand. And the first initial conquest that you need to achieve is to create that common culture so people are aware if they're spending most time below the line or if they're spending most time above the line. Now you actually have agency because you have that awareness. Once you're aware that we're spending too much time above below the line, you can actually redirect that energy to above the line. Many of our organizations in general, they spend 70% of their time below the line, which means that for you as a leader, you have the opportunity to gain a lot of energy towards the results if you just do that simple shift. We go to our next slide. What you will see is that we have many clients. This is just one of the examples that Suncoast Credit Union, and the results speak for themselves. They've been a client for us for many years. We've been in business for 36 years, and many of our clients have been with us for that amount of time. So we've gained the trust in the market from many clients, and we have the results that prove it. Next slide. So as one more.
Yeah, no, it's just to comment that in the additional document that we are submitting, you see a lot of other stories, success stories that we had we had people companies who have worked in the past that have achieved their results with the help of our tools and consultancy. So, Harold.
So why culture partners? And the reality is very simple. If we go to the next slide, you have a culture issue and you need a partner that understands culture. Um, Culture Partners is truly a trusted source of advice to solve that specific problem of culture. How do you go from low performing culture to high performance culture? You've seen the models that are used, they're super simple, but just because they're simple doesn't mean that they're simplistic. In other words, the power of these models come from their simplicity. Everyone can understand them. So now you conquer the common language around these two models. And so that allows you as a leader to then redirect the culture in the direction that you need it to in order to get to your results faster, better, and easier. Paulo?
Yeah, so that's it for our intro. We will send this along with more documentation, with more detail, and also the financial aspect of our offer. And we hope to meet you soon and discuss what in more detail what we are proposing. Thank you.
Thank you. Paulo, eu tenho que entrar numa reunião. Eu vou te mandar esse vídeo quando eu estiver na reunião. A gente pode falar daqui em 30 minutos de novo.
Tá bom, eu vou mexer